Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi and very good day everyone. In this video, I'm going to introduce to you about array. Let's start with understanding the difference between variable and array. So as you know, variable can only keep one value. For example, if you declare variable name, you can only keep Ali inside the variable. Imagine that you have to keep 100 names. What are you going to do is that you're going to declare 100 variables from name 1 until name 100, and you are going to keep the names inside each of the variable. But this is not practical to do and very tedious work for us. So to overcome this problem, that is why we have the array. With the usage of array, you can declare only one array and you can keep more than one values inside the array. Array is a structured data type with a fixed number of elements. So the number of elements that you can keep in an array depends on the size of the array that you declare. For example, in this name array, we declare the size as 3. So that is why you can keep 3 values inside the array. We have Ali, Lim, and Siva. But once you declare the size as 3, it will always be fixed. You cannot add the size or you cannot reduce the size. If you need to adjust the size of the array, then you have to use array list, which will be covered in your programming 2 subject. But in this subject, you're going to learn only a fixed type of array. Okay, you have to know that once you declare an array with a data type, all of the elements will be the same. For example, if you declare the array name as a string, then all the values inside the name array will be a string. You cannot mix up between string and double or integer. So one data type for one array. The elements of the array are accessed through its index number. If you see here, we have index 0, 1, and 2. The index number always starts from 0 and it ends with size minus 1. For example, this array is the size of this array is 3. So 3 minus 1 is 2. So that is why your index starts from 0 until 2. The values that we keep inside the array we call as elements. So we can always access the values of the array by using the index value. There are 3 types of array, which are one-dimensional array, two-dimensional array, and also multi-dimensional array. So for programming 1, we are going to cover one-dimensional and also two-dimensional. But in this video, I'm going to introduce to you about one-dimensional array only. Okay, this is the syntax how to declare an array, which is a one-dimensional data type. One-dimensional array. Okay, so what you have to write is the data type of your element that you're going to keep. So if it is a string, you put a string. If it is an integer, you put integer. Otherwise, you can put double or float. Depends on your needs. And then you have to put the square brackets. And what is your array name? How to name your array is similar to the naming convention that we use for variable. Okay, and then equal to new. What is your data type again? And what is the size you have to put in the square bracket. So here there are 2 ways. Either you follow the first one or second one, but the difference is just the square bracket, the position of the square bracket. The first one is after data type, the second one is after the array name. Okay, so the data type is a type of data that will be stored in your array. As I said earlier, either double, integer, string, and so on. The array name is just a reference variable that we are going to use to refer to that array, and the size depends on your needs, but it should be more than 0. Okay, referring to the syntax that we saw just now, this is an example for you to declare an array. So the data type that you're going to keep inside the array is integer. followed by the square bracket. Num is your array name equals to new integer is data type again, and the size is 5. Okay, if you see here we have size 5. Or you can also declare in this way. The second way is to put the square bracket after the array name, and the rest are the same. So once you declare the array, what will happen in the memory location is that the array will be created, and the values inside the array will be the default values. For this example, we use an integer data type, so that is why the default value are 0. So these values will be 0 until you assign some value to the array. If you notice here, the size of the array is 5, but the index is until 4, because the index always starts from 0 and ends with the size minus 1. So size is 5, 5 minus 1 is 4. So your index is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. You have to place the index within the square brackets. If you notice here, we have the square brackets for each of the index. Okay, to be more precise, so these are the index of your array, and the value inside your array, we call it as element. And the square bracket is actually called as array subscripting operator. Okay, we have seen how to declare an array, but the array is still empty with the default values. So now we want to know how to assign values inside the array, because you always will have to keep some values in the array. Okay, so here we have another declaration, integer list equals to new integer 10. Okay, what's the meaning of this syntax? We declare an array. The array name is a list, and the data type that will be kept in this array is an integer. The size is 10. So what happened in your memory is this one. You have an array list, and you have values 0 placed in your array, because it is the default value for integer. And your index starts from 0 until 9. So initially, this is the memory status. So now what we want to do is that we want to assign value to certain of the index here. So what we do is that we assign list at index 3 equal to 10. So list is our array name, 3 is the index, and 10 is the value that we would like to assign to the index. And the next one, we have list 6 equals to 35. So now we want to assign 35 to array list at index 6. Okay, the last one is where we want to sum the value of list list at index 3 with list at index 6. We want to sum these two values, and we want to assign to list number 5. Okay, if you see the next slide, this is the memory location. List at index 10, list at index 3 is assigned with value 10. List index 6 is assigned to 35. And list at index 5 is assigned to list 3 plus list 6. So list 3 is 10, list 6 is 35. So 10 plus 35, you get 45. And this 45 is assigned to index 5. This is the memory location after the code is executed. So now you have assigned value to the 3 indexes, but the rest are still 0. So this is how you do it manually, one by one. So there are more examples in this slide. So for example, we have array test, and the index starts from 0 until 4, meaning the size is 5. Now we want to assign the value for each of the index. Okay, so what we do is that test index 0 equals to 85, index 1 equals to 98, and so on. So all these values will be assigned to the array. And finally, your array will be full with the values. All of the indexes has the elements inside it. Okay, so this is array test. Okay, another example is for array grade. So array grade, we would like to keep grade values, which are characters. So what we do is that grade index 0 equals to B, index 1 equals to C, and so on. And these values will be kept in your array. So this is how you assign values to your array by using the index one by one. We can also use for loop that we are going to learn later on. But for now, you should understand that when you want to assign value to the array, you have to put the array name and what is the index that you want to assign the value. So if you want to assign the value to index 2, then you have to put your array name, the index, and equal to what? Equal to the value that you want to assign. We can also specify the array size during the runtime, where we ask the user what is the size of the array that they would like to create. For example, you give instruction to the user, enter the size of the array. So user give you some value. For example, let's say user types in T. So T value will be kept by variable array size. So based on this array size variable, you declare the array. So here we declare one array. The array name is list. The data type is integer, and the array size is 3, which is depending on the user's input just now. So if user key in 5, then the array size will be 5. If user key in 10, then the array size will be 10. So it is more flexible. So it depends on the needs of your code. You can also declare the array during the runtime. Next is how to initialize array during the declaration. So meaning you can declare and initialize the value directly together. Okay, this syntax will be useful when you already know what are the values that you're going to keep in the array. So what you have to do is that you just write the data type of your array, your square bracket, and the name of your array equal to, you have to put the values of the element of the array in the within curly braces, and you separate them with comma. So meaning the value will be 12.25, 32.50, and so on. So these values will be kept in the array sales. So if you see the memory location here, sales at index 0 is assigned with 12.25. Sales at index 1 is assigned with 32.5. Sales at index 2 with 16.9. Sales at index 3 is 23.00, and 45.68 is assigned to sales at index 4. So in this case, when you declare and initialize the array, you don't have to write the size of the array, because the size of the array will be detected based on the elements that you write here. Okay, so you also don't need the reserve word new here. Just put equal to, and you put the values within the curly braces, and you separate them with comma. But you have to make sure that the data type that you declare here are similar with the values that you assign here. If you declare an integer and suddenly you put here as double values, then it will give you error. Okay, next is about the use of length. What is the use of length is that we can know the size of an array. So you can just simply write the array name dot length, and it's going to return to you what is the size of the array. So for example, we have here array number. The size, the data type is integer, and the size, the elements are 10, 20, until 60. Now you want to know what is the size through coding. When looking at this one, you already know it is 6. But through coding, what you have to do is you use the dot length. So, for example, SOP, the size is array number dot length. So, what is your array name? Dot length. So, finally, your output will be the size is 6. Okay, in this slide, the syntax is given to you on how to access elements in array. So when you want to access an array element, this is how you do it. You have to put the array name, and in the square bracket, you put the size. Sorry, this is actually not integer size. It is actually the index. So you have to put the array name and what is the index in the square bracket. Okay, example given here. For example, we have array A and we have 5 elements here. And now we would like to know what is the value at index 2. Okay, index 2 is this one. So from our knowledge, we know that the value, the element in index 2 is 4. But through coding, what you have to do is that, for example, you can declare a variable and you access the value by using the array name and what is the index. So array A, index 2, the value will be assigned to this access value variable. So next, when you want to print out the value, you just SOP, the value in index 2 is access value. So it will print for you 4. Or you can directly put as SOP, the value is in index 2 is A at index 2. Either way, which one is suitable for you? So these two SOPs will return to you value of index 2 as 4. Okay, in this slide, I'm going to talk about array index out of bounds, which is a common problem that you will face when you work with array. So it is said here an array is in bounds if index is more than or equal to 0 or index is less than or equal to array size minus 1. What does this mean? Okay, let's say we have one array. The size is 0, 1, and 2. So if the index is more than equals to 0, this one, or index less than equals to array size minus 1. So our array size is 3 in this case. So 3 minus 1 is 2. So if it is ranging from 0 to 2, then we say it is inbound. But if it is outbound, if index is less than 0 or index more than or equal to array size. So if it is less than 0, or index more than equals to array size. So what is your array size here? Array size is 3. So if this more than equal to 3 or it is less than 0, meaning it is out of bound. What is the problem with array index out of bound is actually the number of the index is not available. For example, if you suddenly want to access the value of this array by using index 4. So index 4 is not available here. Your index is only from 0 until 2. So that is why you are going to get an error. So if an array is out of bound, you are going to get this kind of error, array index out of bounds exception. So once you get this error message, you can already know that, oh, this is something related to your index value. Okay, the program will terminate with an appropriate error message. So it can come during runtime, the error can come during runtime or during your compilation, either way. So another example for you here, we have an array name is list, the data type is double, and the size is 10. So the component or element that you keep in the array will be valid if it is from 0 until 9, because the size is 10, meaning the index starts from 0 until 9. But if suddenly you would like to print out the value in index 10 and you put here as list index 10, but list index 10 is not available here. That is why you are going to get an error. The index is out of bounds. Okay, so we have gone through few examples, some explanation about the introduction of the array. So in this slide, we have the exercise. You can try on, create one class, and you do all this. You just follow step by step. This is just to make you become familiar with the array. Okay, happy coding. Thank you.